Yeah, it's a sport that gets into your blood, and you just can't get it out. No matter what you do. When
Why?
I,
What is it?
it's just the adrenaline, the rush that you get being around it. There's always action. Sometimes a little more than you want.
It's hard to believe, but Norm Cuthbertson had zero experience with horses when he decided chuckwagon racing was the thing for him. Today, he's recognized as one of the sport's great outriders and chuckwagon drivers and is newly inducted into the Calgary Stampede Hall of Fame. In this special interview, Norm reflects on the adrenaline of chuckwagon racing, why the horses always come first, and on the close calls that nearly ended his career.
8 of us trying to go see where the wagons are because it's dusty. And when I got there, Dallas's wagon was upside down and the wheels were turning. The last thing I could remember is picking that horse's head up, and he just about cleared the wagon, but his knees caught on the edge of the box.
Unison TV also sat down with Stampede Hall of Fame inductee John Down, whose passion for reporting from the barns helped generations of fans fall in love with chuckwagon racing.
I think they were a little shy about me to begin because you'd never had a guy hanging around the barns as much as I was, and I don't know if they thought I was a thief.
Watch the full story on Unison TV and celebrate two remarkable seniors whose skill and love of the sport helped define one of the Stampede's greatest traditions.
When I found out, I thought to the wife, or I said to the wife that this is unbelievable. We started out living in a tent, taking care of horses, and now we're being inducted into one of the greatest shows on earth. So it was quite an honor. Well, I started out in Grand Prairie, obviously, where I was born and raised. And I went to the county fair one time. I'm just a city kid. And I seen Kelly Sutherland and some of them guys racing, and I actually his one wheel come off, and he was balancing the wagon as he was going around the racetrack, and he still won the heat. And I thought, holy smokes, this is something I could get into here. This is Wild West stuff. So yeah, and then I just teamed up with Kelly. The barn. I started right at the bottom. I was a barn boy for 3 years, and then finally got a break from Ralph Vegan, actually, with Kelly's mentor, I guess. And he gave me a shot at outriding right here at Calgary. My first ride was in Calgary. You'd think it wasn't all eyeballs, and couldn't figure out why I was that lucky to get on.
How old were you?
I was 17, I think. Yeah, I rode out into the infield and I seen the crowd, and my heart was going about 900 miles an hour. But everything worked out, and I was thankful for the ride. I worked for the Sutherlands up in Grand Prairie hauling mud to oil rigs. So I kind of had an in there, and then I said to Kelly one day, I said, can I come and work for you? The rest is history.
What was your horse history?
Zero. Yeah.
What?
I don't think I rode a horse till I was, I want to say 15.
Why would he take a guy who's never been on a horse?
He thought he's seen something in me from when I worked for them that I might be able to do it, I guess. And it was, if you work hard and don't mess up too much, most of them will hire anybody. You know, I loved horses. The first time I rode them, one, it was actually an Arabian, and a high-headed thing, and I thought, but it could run pretty good, so I'd always take it out and blow it out for a little ways. I liked it, so I knew I had to get into it somehow, and the most exciting thing I could think of was the chuckwagon racing. So, yeah, it's hard to believe a city kid was, yeah, but it all worked out. Kelly was always good. It wasn't like he was a hard boss, but he was honest. Like he'd tell you anything or let you do anything you wanted with the horses. I didn't even ride for Kelly. I rode for Ralph Vegan the first time, and then I ventured off and got a job with Richard Cosgrave. And then I rode for Tommy Glass and Richard for the rest of, I think I won two Calgarys behind Tommy. And I wrote to Richard the last time he made the dash, but didn't quite pan out. He got outrun, but I've pretty much wrote for them all.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. The Dallas Dorchesters I wrote for. I wrote for Ed Allstott, Joe King. I mean, some of the old names that are no longer with us. But yeah, it's a sport that gets into your blood, and you just can't get it out. No matter what you do.
Why? What is it?
It's just the adrenaline, the rush that you get being around it. There's always action. Sometimes a little more than you want, but it's always very exciting. It's just something the adrenaline is a big thing. If you got any fear, you shouldn't be in it. You got you be cautious a little bit, but the fear part of, like I said, you just can't even think about what could go wrong. It just never enters your mind. No, it's you can't describe it to a normal person that doesn't understand the workings behind the wagons and stuff, how much work goes into them. And then once that horn blows, that's you got butterflies up to that point, and then it all settles down after that first horn, and it just comes natural after a while.
It settles down after the horn.
Yeah, once you're anticipating the horn so much that when that horn goes, it's finally a relief. The show's on and you're ready to go. Yeah, the butterflies would instantly disappear once you heard that horn. I don't know why it sounds kind of silly, but it's something that once it's in your system, you just kind of get into that. And that happened every year. Like you'd come in here and the anticipation for that first horn is just something. It's incredible. As you're in the infield waiting for your wagon to come in, that's when at the first race of the year, that's when the butterflies really hit you. Okay, so now as soon as your wagon comes in and you're still nervous when you're throwing the stove, that's what I did all the time. And like I said, when that first horn sounds, then it's all just go to work, get your job done. These guys are relying on you. Don't mess up. And like when you get riding for them good outfits that start and go up so hard, it's all just second nature. You just bail on, and you don't hear the crowd. You hear the horn, but for some reason you can block that crowd out, and everything settles down. And you're, like I said, it's very hard to explain because it's built into you, I guess. Once you get into the system and working with horses and stuff, it's something you can hardly describe.
Have you ever been part of some kind of wreck?
Actually, I was in High River. We had a wreck that Dallas Dorchester was laying. His wagon had tipped over, and it was so dusty, us outriders couldn't see it. So when I finally got up to where the accident was, like it was in the second corner, there was all the outriders were there. Like there was 8 of us trying to go see where the wagons are because it's dusty. And when I got there, Dallas's wagon was upside down and the wheels were turning. The last thing I could remember is picking that horse's head up, and he just about cleared the wagon, but his knees caught on the edge of the box. He went over, and it sent me up the track probably 30, 40 yards, rolling and tumbling. I wasn't ready for it. I separated my shoulder and broke ribs and cracked an elbow. And that was one of my biggest adventures. We were out that year for Calgary. Yeah, so we went, me and Mike and a few of the guys that got hurt, we just come into Calgary and watched the CPCA or whoever was running in there. We just watched it, but that was the hardest thing we could do because you knew you wanted to be out there, even in a different association. You see the wagons, you want to be out there, but you're all crippled up, you can't do it. And, well, into the wagon aspect, it's very tough to get into because it costs so much money now. And you better have a very good sponsor, which I was lucky to have through the years. But if you don't have them, you treat them like gold because you only get them once in a lifetime. I was lucky enough to have a few of them. But be ready to give everything to your horses. You got to miss a few meals, miss them. It's all about the horses. And like me and the wife, we spent a lot of time in tents and stuff just so that the horses could eat properly and stuff. So it's dedication. It's hard to put into words how much you have to give to your horses. That's what it's all about. I don't care how many people think, I got lots of talent. It's not all talent. I'm telling you, it's. I was lucky enough to buy some horses that just fit into the routine. Love doing it, and I'm not bragging, but I think we had one of the best lead teams in them few years that I won the aggregate here. I don't think I was ever turned off from 1 and 2. So if you're going to get into it, you got to be lucky to find the good horses, and you got to be diligent and leave no stone unturned. You gotta do it all right. I come up through the ranks, and I had very good mentors. George Norman and Richard Cosgrave. I mean, two of the best. They were always on safety. Do not take too much chances with your horses. Always, it was. You got to love the sport, and once you're into it, stay diligent. So all I can say is, if you're gonna sink the money into it, you gotta 24/7, and horses have to be taken care of. That's what it's all about, is the horses. The changes have been, as an old timer, I would still like to see the 4 horses or 4 outriders and 4 to a heat. But I understand what Calgary's doing to try and appease everybody, and I can see it going into the future. Like, there's outfits out there right now I'd give my eye teeth to get because they are so good, and it's the future looks bright to me. So I'm hoping that Calgary stays going, and all these young guys can get their little 10 minutes of fame. And it's just the only place to be if you're wagon racing. I was privileged to be part of it.
Totally wordless. I mean, I was not expecting it, and when Tel Hogbin called me up to tell me what was going to be taking place, I didn't have anything to say except, "You're kidding." Wow. And that was and I was absolutely speechless. But it's I mean, to me it's a great honor. It's kind of the epitome of recognition for your efforts over the years. It's always nice to be recognized. I never really got drawn. I got sent here. Part of my beat, I started in '82. I was sent down to talk to the winner of that show. It was Dave Lewis. I was really impressed by the size of the crowd, the noise, the excitement. And I thought, golly, this is not a bad place to be. And in '84 is when I really got my teeth into the Chuckwagon racing. I was given the freedom to go down and cover it from day 1 to 10. And that was the start of about a 30-year run, I guess it was. But I enjoyed just about every minute of it. There was some sad times, but largely happy times. Great people to deal with, solid the earth people. big families, generational drivers, and I think I was lucky to cover one of the best generations of drivers. That was the people like Kelly Sutherland, got to write 8 of his 12 wins, Tommy Glass, Buddy Bensmiller, George Norman, Richard Cosgrave, Norm Cuthbertson, on and on, Reg Johnstone. There were really, really fast, talented drivers. And then I got to see this kind of the start of the next generation with guys like Lou Tournier and Huey Sinclair, Jason Glass, Jerry Bremner, that gang, all kind of been around the same age, Mark Sutherland. And now there's another generation I know nothing about. Well, excitement was there every night of the races, for sure. I used to come down when they allowed me to expand my coverage. So I come down here around 9 in the morning, do my interviews, because a lot of the guys laid down around noon until maybe 3 or even 4 o'clock when they got up to tie the heads of the horses that were going to race that night. I mean, at one time I had a 6-page pullout at the Calgary Sun to fill, so I had to go get a lot of interviews done early. So while they were napping, I'd be writing, and by the time I got done writing, the races were starting, and on it right from there. So they were busy, fun days. I mean, I remember on several occasions when they come down to the grounds, and I think it was Iris Glass's, or it might have been Shirley Dorchester's, but they'd see me coming and they'd say, "Come on in, have a coffee, John." The coffee tasted suspiciously like a screwdriver. So that was a good start to the day. But there was always people around, and just a lot of great memories. Their lives were a lot of hard work, not just for the drivers, but every member of the family was pitching in. Sponsors were pitching in. I learned that it took a lot of hard work to keep these outfits going. When you considered, most of them were hauling upwards of 20 horses. There was hay to pitch, stalls to muck. The list goes on and on and on. And so I found out that it was a real family sport, like I say, with soul of the earth people. No big hang-ups.
Yeah. It wasn't like they were above being like, oh, not the media, were they?
Well, they were.
How do they feel about that?
I think they were a little shy about me to begin, because they'd never had a guy hanging around the barns as much as I was, and I don't know if they thought I was a thief or what was going on. But we got to know each other very well. I had super mentors that, because I knew nothing about chuckwagon racing. Yeah. So guys like George Norman, Buddy Bensmiller, and Dallas Dorchester, Outrider Dale Gray were the guys that clued me in a lot more, and it helped me be a little more savvy towards what was going on.
So they were mentoring, taking you in.
Well, I knew I could go to them with probably dumb questions, and they would take the time to straighten me out and get me on the right track. But they were all like that, basically. I mean, I never had a problem with any driver in the barns or any outrider, and I've got to tell you, those outriders were every bit as wild as they were touted to be. But they were all just great people, all working for the same end. I learned that they partied long after the chuckwagons were done, and slept and pretty much all day long. It was tough to find an outrider that wasn't in his tent or in his little trailer somewhere. They were the life of the party. Believe me. I think that's maybe as far as I should go with that. But when it came to doing the job there, they were ready to go. And some guys, were better than others, just like in the driving. Some drivers handled the reins better than others. So But yeah, guys like Real King, you talk about characters. There was one, Chance Biggin, of course, went on to be a champion. His dad, Mike, was an outrider too. Well, I think most of them started out as outriders actually in the sport before they moved up. Jason Glass, and look at the success he's had now.
It's been a ride for you too.
Oh, I enjoyed just about every minute of it. I mean, there were some sad times, but mostly happy times. It wasn't only the drivers I got to know, but I got to know a lot of the wives, a lot of the barn rats, the kids, I mean. But there were, I remember some things like when Jim Knight would load up his pickup truck and take them off to the go-kart track, a whole truckload of the kids. And it was just fun times all the time. I think Tommy Glass might have saved my life one day. I was walking down one of the barn roads, the shed roads, and Tommy appeared to be taking a nap on some bales of hay. And so I was kind of strolling past nice and slow, and all of a sudden there was a clippity-clop, and this thoroughbred horse had gotten loose, and he's running at me at a pretty good rate of speed. And all of a sudden, Tommy is in front of me, grabs the horse around the neck, plants his feet, and that was the end of that horse's runaway. But I knew Tommy was tough, but I'd never seen anything like that. He was obviously calling on some of his background as a stuntman.
Holy
But
smokes.
yeah, it could get exciting,
Yeah,
for sure. I spent a lot of time in the barns. Yeah, but you had to track these guys down, and some days you didn't get who you want, but like I said, you had 36 drivers, 20 outriders to choose from. And if it got stuck, you always tried to interview a horse, but that never turned out very well. There were some deaths of Chuckwagon drivers, George Norman in Ponoka, and that was coming into Calgary. That was probably the quietest stampede ever. Richard Cosgrave, he died in wagon racing in Kamloops. Bill McEwen and his son Larry, their first race together in the Stampede, and Bill got killed, which was extremely emotional. And Eugene Jackson, an outrider. I mean, there were some deaths of horses as well, but they were sad too, but nothing like when you lose a driver or a competitor. I think they do it for the love, because until there really wasn't a lot of money to be made until they introduced, well, I mean, you had to have Calgary to keep competing at one time. Then they introduced the tarp auction, so that opened up a whole new door of income for the drivers, and the tarp auctions have spread down the line on the circuits. So a nice source of income for the drivers now. So they don't have to reach as deeply into their wallet, if at all, to continue to do something they really do love. The media business is different now. I mean, it's changed immensely from when I was in it, in the glory days of media. But I don't know what, I mean, I would argue there are 500,000 people a year who watch Chuckwagon racing just in Alberta alone. That includes their other circuits. So how do you ignore probably the second most attended sport, viewed sport in the province? So I mean, this is the second largest sport as far as I'm concerned in the province. And that was one of my arguments about upping the coverage. But no, it was, I was so happy that I was able to do what I did. And if I could do it all over again, I would, for sure.